let's have a solo. Vex me so. I need the answers so that I can get on with the show. And so I hope you'll tell me, 'cause I really need to know. The calendar remains unchecked. Is it FAWM yet?
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello to the French Doggy, who was way ahead of the field in terms of joining the chat. Good evening to Ryako Music. Hello, hello. Yeah. All changing here, as you noticed, different camera. Ryako Music says, "Oh my, that is a jumper." Well, come on, it's Christmas. You've got to make an effort. Good evening to Array of Emotions. Hello, David. It's Sunday the 20th of December 2020. 8 years on since apparently the apocalypse was going to happen. Do you remember that? Now, in the UK, all we know is that 2020 is going to end in tears. London is now in tier 4 of a 3-tier system because Boris has not got a Scooby. But let's not cover the depressing stuff. I have stuff to show you. In tonight's show, I'm going to be talking a lot about OBS and how I have had OBS set up wrong for the last 8 months. I will also be talking about a bonkers plugin, which I owe my thanks to Helen's evil twin, who said, "Have you got this one?" And I hadn't. And now I have, and I've been using it. So stay tuned for a bonkers, very over-the-top, literally, compression unit. So, I see what you did there, says Ryako Music. I'm glad my audience is on the ball tonight. So, how are we all? It's not FAWM. FAWM does not start for 43 days. And if you're stumbled across this stream on Twitch and thought, "Oh, music, I'll listen to that," and you're now wondering, what on earth is FAWM? Well, FAWM, FAWM, is February Album Writing Month. The idea is that you write 14 songs in the 28 days of February. In a leap year, we have to write 14 and a half songs. So an output of a song every 2 days. Is that reaching for the stars? Not at all. There are people on February Album Writing Month who write 14 songs in the first day. Our friend Yuha Januarius on Twitch wrote a 24-minute prog rock album in the first weekend. But yes, so everybody says, "Are those dinosaurs?" Yes, they are. Dinosaurs dancing around a Christmas tree. Glad to hear everyone's okay. Still got to do some Christmas shopping. Oh my. I have given the hive.co.uk website a real hammering over the last couple of days. Let's just leave it at that. Not shopping at Amazon. Right. On with the show. I want to show you something. And I want you to pay very close attention to the amount of volume changes that happen when I share my screen or go to the studio cam or go to the tripod cam, hello tripod cam, or even go to the 4-way shot, or even the really bonkers one that I've now configured, which it's not called showing off anymore, it's just called showtime. And absolute level audio throughout. How did you manage that, Chris? Long story short, after everybody was going, "Oh, your volume's going up and down like a yo-yo," And it's like, not here. And in the audio mixer, which there is on OBS, there is just one volume control which says Zoom Q8 audio level, and that's the same on all my scenes. Or so I thought. Because it turns out that some clever clogs putting together OBS thought it'd be a really good idea where if you had two scenes that used the same audio source and you made a new scene that included both the scenes with their camera feeds and their audio sources, kind of like this with the screen capture in the bottom there, then the sensible thing to do would be to add the two instances of that audio feed together so that it becomes twice as loud. And extrapolating from that, you can see where I'm going with this. If you've got 4 cameras, all with the same audio feed on them, then the OBS programming team thought it'd be a really sensible idea to make everything 4 times as loud. So that's what it does. But just in case you'd noticed in the audio mixer that you'd got 4 copies of the audio feed, which you have, which is why it's 4 times louder, they thought, oh no, that's just silly. We'll hide the other 3 instances of that audio feed in your mixer so you can't see that you've got 4 times the volume and do anything about it. Yeah, so eventually, after about 5 minutes after last Thursday's show finished, I found a web page that kind of explained that, but in much more arcane language. And I sat down and I thought, well, this is silly because the whole point of scenes is that you save yourself hassle if, and this becomes relevant in a bit because I'm going to be talking about hardware, if you change a camera, then if you use nested scenes, then you only have to change the hardware in the original scene for the camera. So like HFO cam on this one, or studio cam, hello, over there, or tripod cam, which is pointing in a completely random direction. So there we go. Hello. And yeah, I thought that was a really sensible idea. But what I was doing wrong was that when I set up all of those individual camera feeds, I was adding the audio. No, you don't do that. What you do is you set up a whole bunch of scenes with your camera and or camera and caption and whatever else nice little doohickeys or bling you want to add to that camera feed. But you don't use those scenes on their own. What you have to do is then build a whole bunch of other scenes and you add the audio feed to that aggregated scene. So there's no audio in the actual camera scenes that have all the captions, and I don't know my left arm from my right hand, and I'm now doing some form of festive Christmas disco, so let's move on. So yeah, I therefore deleted all my scenes in OBS and rebuilt them all completely from scratch to make it all change. The French Doggy says the front cam is weird. There are some yellow accents. Yeah, this is where changing the hardware came in. I decided, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but have you checked the resolution this week? I'm not in 720p. I'm in full HD. And the reason I'm in full HD will become apparent later on. but the French Doggy is right. The front cam is weird because it's a little 20 quid Chinese webcam that I have swapped out and replaced my lovely little Zoom Q2N 4K because I'm going to be shooting a lot of 4K video, because that's my project for Christmas, is redo all the opening credits and all the closing credits in proper 4K. I'm not going to be streaming in 4K. It's just I've got a much better camcorder now, so I'm going to be using it as a camcorder, not as a webcam, when I've got a 20 quid job up there that kind of does the right thing. But yeah, it is cheap, and because it's cheap, it doesn't really show video very well. I can probably tweak it, but I think that would probably be asking for trouble live on stream. So yesterday afternoon I did a test stream in HD for 2 hours. Connection was rock solid, so it looks like it's doable. I just have to tweak the camera's settings and put nice filters and color adjustments in them and things like that. But yeah, that's quite a shine on the forehead, isn't it, folks? Isn't that's maybe I shall wear a hat from now on in streams. Apparently this is a thing, because last night I was watching the encore of the 9 Carols and Lessons for Socially Distanced People that was organised by the Cosmic Shambles Network, and it was glorious. But Robin started the stream off with one of those enormous Russian fur hats, and hat wearing then became a thing for the next 4 hours. It was only supposed to be 3, but overrunning. And yeah, there is definitely potential for hat wearing in HFO television. Not just bonkers jumpers. I think I may have to dig out a fedora or two. The only trouble is that camera has absolutely no exposure controls whatsoever. It's rubbish. But yeah, I said I was not buying any more gear this month, and I am not buying any more gear this month. So there. So where are we musically? Well, I left you on Thursday night as I was working for a track called Thunder Snow, and that's kind of led me off into a whole new direction for the Decembering album, which I am still planning on finishing and releasing live on the show in a week on Thursday. So 4 days time, eek, I will be releasing my December Pay What You Want album on Bandcamp, and there will be, I've decided, 12 tracks on it. The problem is, at the moment, I've only written 8 or 9 of them, so I need to get my finger out for the rest of this week. I keep on finding things that I don't like, and I want to share one thing with you. I've been obsessively tweaking the stick track, and if I just turn off, in fact I'll open this neutron equalizer, you notice there's a very, very big notch there, and if I solo the track I'll explain why. So first of all, let's play the stick without the equalizer active. You hear what was annoying me? That really, really loud resonance that I'm not even sure. I think it's probably the next to bottom string vibrating in resonance with the lowest string. But I discovered that tonight and thought, okay, I can either re-record all the stick part, or I can be clever. Because what you can do is a little trick with equalizers. And that is if you've got the neutron equalizer in your effects chain, or most equalizers will let you solo a particular band of your equalizer. And on the neutron equalizer, it's this button here. And what you do is you make that band really, really, really loud and then slide it backwards and forwards until you hear the sound that's annoying you, like this. Well, it's not there. And there it is. So it's that note. Okay, so now we've found it, you just turn that peak into a notch. And lo and behold, it magically goes away. How cool is that? So now what you then do is unsolo that, and that's probably a bit vicious. So let's just bring it up a bit. And then if I unsolo it, well, in fact, let's play it now soloed, and you can hear that the ringing's disappeared. It's a bit quieter, but... So, saved myself a good hour or so re-recording the stick part, and it now sounds perfectly fine in the track as a whole. So I've also done a lot of tweaking of Thunder Snow. So what I will do is I will now play you the current mix of it. The French Doggy says, that's a trick I learned a few months back. I had to learn that because my synthesizer 5 made a screechy noise on the S. Super useful. It is a really, I mean, it's a simple dodge, and you guys probably all know it, but there may be somebody watching this show who's never used EQ before. So this is for you. This is the sort of reason why EQ is fantastically useful as a way of saving you a lot of time and pain in having to redo stuff when there's a simple fix that you can do like that. So this is the new mix of Thunder Snow, which I've yet to render out, so I'll be doing that after the show because sleep is overrated. This is Thunder Snow. So that was the current mix of Thundersnow. As you can see, I've still got some work to do. The volume is... The wobbles are effectively caused by the guitar chords, so there's not a lot I can do about those. And the middle section is intentionally quiet, which Ryako Music liked, so that's staying quiet. But I think I might have to find some form of compression to soften those curves a bit. It is a bit noticeable, really, isn't it? Those ups and downs. It looks like a roller coaster, and I can do better than that. I know I could. So that one's got quite a bit of work to do on it, but that's not the only piece of music that I have been working on. I've been incredibly prolific, God knows why, and have done two new pieces of music since last we spoke. So I'm going to save that. And now, of course, we're into the bit where Ableton has to go off and load the next set that I'm going to be working on. And as you can see, it just flashed up not responding, which it kind of does from time to time. So let's go back to the main camera, and you can marvel at the cheapness of the video feed. It's also, as you can see, not exactly the full wide angle view that the advert promised. In fact, the camera's supposed to be about 120 degree field of view. Really isn't, but you can see, you know, Mr. Bootsock there and Bob the Dalek, and we've got Ziltoid there. So there's also the point. I can't do this the backwards. There's the Pointy Head Boss and Dilbert there, and Claptrap from Borderlands. There's a Cajun Mosquito. It's just tchotchkes left, right, and centre in here. It really is. Oh, it's done it. Gosh, that was a bit quicker than it normally is. So, Decembering. Album of tracks about what December is kind of about, other than the festive season. And one of the things, if you live in certain parts of the world, but definitely not around here at the moment, is wind chill. So this track has lots of synthesizer on it. And this is the track that I was working on yesterday on my live stream as a test. So if you tuned in yesterday, you would have heard me playing a very, very early version of this. But of course, me being me, I've redone all the bass guitar and I've redone all the normal guitars. I think basically the Fly needs a new set of strings on it, because I'm trying to remember when I last put a new set of strings on it. I think it's probably a good few months ago, and playing it back this morning, it was like, oh dear, the intonation on my playing was all over the place. So the Fly is sitting this one out, and I went for the Yamaha. I went for the Ibanez RG770 that has a Floyd Rose tremolo on it, so that keeps its tuning a little bit more in control. The bass is the RG9BK, which is my 9-string, which I kind of bought because I fancied myself as trying a bit of gent, you know, animals as leaders and Meshuggah and all that. I've ended up using it as my default bass guitar, which I didn't see coming at all. I love the tone of it. The French Doggy says, not tempting you or anything, Headfirst Only, but Audio Assault are doing a sale on various guitar-rated plugins. Mate, I am sorted with guitar-related plugins at the moment. I had a very, very brief play with Native Instruments Guitar Rig 6 because I have the full version as a result of keyboard and everything. Oh, yeah, the keyboard doesn't show up anymore on camera. That's a pain. Gonna have to think about that. Yeah, Guitar Rig 6 has many pedals on it, and also guitar tweaked versions of Native Instruments effects like Realm and Replica, which is kind of promising. So anyway, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to play you Wind Chill, which again has an awful lot of Native Instruments Ethereal Earth and Native Instruments Hybrid Keys, which are the two instruments that I've set myself the goal of learning the ins and outs and finding out what they're good at, what they're not so good at. And I think I've kind of done quite well in terms of what they're good at on this one. So see what you think. This is called Wind Chill. So that was Wind Chill. Compare and contrast, if you will, Insight's history for that track. Marvel at my ability to get a consistent volume level across the entire track. That took so much tweaking to do it. It was like, oh, that's too loud. Oh, no, that bit's too loud now. Oh, that bit's too loud. But I got there in the end. This track, I reckon, is done, which, considering I only started working on it yesterday afternoon, I'll take that. That's not bad. Riako was saying she liked the hybrid keys tinkly bits, which I think that was... No, it's that one, isn't it? There you go. It's that one. And as I say, I've been setting myself the challenge of getting to know hybrid keys and Ethereal Earth in more detail as a result of making this album. And the main bass line in this is Ethereal Earth. But I was saying to Riako Music in the chat, Ethereal Earth is beginning to bug me. And that's because a lot of the patches have all sorts of nasty bit crushy things, or they drift. They do that, where you set the pitch to be controlled by the really slow LFO. So it goes all over the place. I hate that. And in some of the Ethereal Earth patches, you get a little set of controls up here to play with them. But for these, I can't figure out how you enable them. It's bugging me. And this is, again, I'm finding the Complete Control plugin a bit annoying, I have to say, because it does a lot of things to whatever you embed within it, such as it doesn't quite work with the articulations chooser in some of the Spitfire audio plugins that I've got. And it does things like, if I just dropped Ethereal Earth into this track outside of Complete Control, it would have all its controls enabled and there'd be a little fluffy dice there so I could click on it to randomize the sound effect. Put it in Ethereal Earth and a lot of the functionality gets hidden. And we're back to this thing about programmers making decisions for you rather than just giving you everything. I want everything in an interface. I'm sorry, but I'm a nerd. I like opening the lid and tweaking things. No, don't pull on that. You never know what it's attached to. And so, which is why the main pad on this ended up actually, I went through about 6 or 7 different Ethereal Earth pads and ended up deciding I hated all of them and eventually just gave up and used my go-to synthesizer, which is Arturia's lovely Pigments, which is gorgeous. I just have a thing about wavetable synths at the moment. Isn't that lovely? So, yeah, I'm rather pleased with that track. Riako Music says, I like being able to control aspects of a plugin. Me too. Presets are a useful starting point, but you've got to be able to go beyond presets and start tweaking things, because you may have combinations of sounds that don't quite fit together, so you want to be able to just nudge them so that they do fit. And the way that you do that is by tweaking as many parameters as one sees fit, which I do in abundance and have done on that track. But there's quite a few different patches on it. Again, kind of ended up just dropping a guitar solo in the middle rather than just doing all guitars. and I decided that that would not do. So this afternoon, and this track is now, about 5 hours in. So we won't change anything on that because that is fine as it is. So once again, I shall go back to the main camera while Ableton does its thing and loads the third piece of music that I've been working on since Thursday's show. Right, now this is where I want to talk about compressors, because if you remember last Thursday I was talking about the Molot compressor, which is a bonkers, not at all subtle Russian compressor unit, or an emulation program by a Russian guy of a bonkers Russian hardware compressor that is very arcane, does very, very strange things to the signals that you put through it, but I rather like it in a mad sort of way. So I don't know if she's watching tonight, but hello to Helen's evil twin, who doesn't have a Twitch account but was watching on Thursday and said some very kind things about the show, which cheered me up no end, and then said, "You have got X-FAWM Records' OTT compressor, haven't you? If you like over-the-top compressors, then OTT is the compressor for you." I hadn't. I have now. And it's on this track. So OTT is not your average compressor. There it is. Rather than having separate attack and release, you just have a time dial. So they both kind of work at the same time. You have a depth control instead of a ratio control, but it does kind of what a ratio control does, only it just does it as a percentage. You have an input gain and an output gain, which is, that's kind of standard. You also have this rather interesting, it's a multiband compressor, so you've got high, mid and low, and you can change where the sweet spot is by dragging the little black boxes that you can see there, left and right. You can use it as an expander by making the upward dial more than 100%, or you can just use it as a regular common or garden compressor by making the downward percentage more than 100%. And it does nice things. Helen, I like a lot. So what I'm going to play you, this kind of, it's almost ready. So we've had Thunder Snow already. I reckon, or I cast my mind back, so I remembered, I don't know if you did, a couple of winters ago, suddenly every news report started going on about bombogenesis because it sounded cool. And do you remember the whole weather bomb scare that we had a couple of years ago? Thought, right, okay, I've got to have a track that's called Bombogenesis, and that can then be the track before Thunder Snow, because when you have Bombogenesis, you get Thunder Snow. So you can see where I'm going. There's actually, suddenly, my album's got a narrative. Who saw that coming? So this is Bombogenesis. So that's Bombo Genesis from Decembering, my album that will be released on Thursday. Come hell or high water, it'll be Pay What You Want, as last month's album was, and it'll be available on headfirstonly.bandcamp.com for your delectation or delight, or just to listen to when you're falling asleep, which the French Doggy says, yeah, I could do that. The French Doggy also says, this feels like 80s prog rock, which is, yes, exactly what I'm going for, because I am stuck in the 1980s. Ryako Music says, is this album going to be all instrumentals? I think all of my Pay What You Want albums will be instrumentals, because they're kind of me getting to know individual instruments and learning what they're good at and learning what they're not so good at, and at the same time improving my mixing chops. So yeah, I'm not going to inflict singing on people for these. I'll save that delight for February album writing month, because it's only 43 days until February album writing month starts again, and I start singing. Be warned. So this track is too busy for a start, so I think I need to drop things out. And like I was saying on Thursday's show, my tendency is just to have all the things and all the effects, and I need to work at leaving gaps in things and letting the arrangement breathe. But Ryako Music liked the guitar sound, so I'll solo the rhythm guitars, and I'll disable OTT, the compressor that I was talking about, and see what a difference it makes to the guitar sound when I drop it in. Gives it a bit more cut, doesn't it? And the wah guitars, same thing applies. I think I'm going to be using that a lot. Quite a few of you lot, I think, probably already use X-Fur Records' stuff, because they're the folk who make Serum. So I need to investigate their products, but not this month. I'm not buying any more gear this month. No, I've said this, and it's not going to happen. So lots of compression on that. And going back to me plugins on this, one of the things that tonal balance control does, remember I was talking about loudness on Thursday's show. Well, one of the things, and this is going to be all over the place because I really need to continue mixing and mastering this. It is at an early stage. But if I play you the track, watch this bit up here. That little diamond indicates that the low end frequency content may be too dynamic. And that end says, indicates that the low end frequency content may be too compressed. So effectively, if the little dot in the middle goes to the left, you haven't got enough compression on stuff. And if it goes to the right, you've overdone it grotesquely. So if I play you just that sequence again, let's see what it makes of it. Far off there. I'm a bit over enthusiastic on the bass, and what I was doing as that was playing was turning off. You remember on Thunder Snow I was using Waves' Submarine plugin? I'm using it again on the bass because the 9-string sounds incredible as a bass guitar. I mean, listen to it. Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Submarine off it, and that definitely eased the bass a bit down. So you had a look on the tonal balance controls fine setting that I'd managed to get pretty much inside the whole of the rock frequency spectrum, apart from the extreme low end where I got a little bit carried away. So I'll take Submarine off the bass and we'll see if that makes a difference. So let's just save that so that I don't forget what changes I've made. Once again, of course, there's a lot of Valhalla Supermassive on this because Supermassive. And if you haven't gone to Valhalla's webpage and downloaded it, then I strongly recommend that you do, because it's absolutely amazing, and it now sits as my default reverb on my send for these ambient templates, which is what I'm using on this. Yes, there's drums on this. I couldn't resist, and this time out of the gate I am using the Superior Drummer Metal Foundry expansion pack, and in particular I'm using a drum kit that Array of Emotions may be interested in, because it's called Dev Kit, and in fact most of the cymbals on here are Morgan Argren customs. And there's rather a lot of brass available in the Metal Foundry kit. Dev Kit is rather nice. I've swapped a couple of the cymbals out, but I really like the sort of effects that I get. It's nice and tight, and it's not too in your face, and it's not There's not hundreds of yards of reverb on it at all. So I, as always, tend to do on a drum track is I drop Ableton's drum bus onto the drum track. Transient Shaping Enhance is my go-to preset, but I dial it down. I don't have it at 100% because that just gets too ridiculous. So I've got it dialed down to about, 75%. I've also, as a result of that, had to dial the drums back to -5 dB because otherwise they get very, very, very enthusiastic about everything. So the synths, once again, where are we in terms of the synths on this? You've guessed it, hybrid keys. Once again, I am not finding too many Duff presets in hybrid keys. And look, see, this time for hybrid keys, you not only get access to all the sound shaping controls and the effects controls, you can also turn the bloody sequencer off, which you've noticed I have done, because after I'd finished section B and went into section C and was playing it, I was going, where's that noise coming from? And then realised hybrid keys had started, so it was going to continue. But it's not a bad little preset. So kind of a synthy analog of an electric guitar, you thinking? You know, maybe. Yeah, you get the idea. It actually, I think, is more of an electric piano being harshly overdriven, but I like it. I really do like it. So that's me main synth. The rest of it is kind of just embellishments. Once again, I started off with Ethereal Earth and went no. So instead we have the Arturia ARP 2600, legendary synth from the 1970s emulation. And what am I doing with this? Just this. It's a nice bit of sample and hold as a little bit of a hidden tribute to Keith Emerson, who used it an awful lot. If you've never heard Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Brain Salad Surgery, do check it out, because that is prog rock at its finest. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Absolutely. And what else have we got? We have another synth plugin. Yeah, I forced myself to use Ethereal Earth here. You have no idea how much time I spent on trying to find a preset. And look, I haven't done anything different on this track to how I did it on the last track. But look, the little dice has appeared as a randomization button, and all the access to the sound and the effects and the sequencer and the macros have all appeared. What's the difference? I do not know. But the sound that I'm using with Ethereal Earth, and that took a bit of fiddling about and faffing about, to say the least, is this. So the basic concept of the track, bombogenesis, it's where everything goes to pot and you suddenly end up with a massive low pressure system that dumps loads and loads of snow on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And so there are two parts in this track, here and here, where I'm kind of trying to produce the audio equivalent of bombogenesis. So if I solo the track, it's just a series of rising notes. And just to make it extra filthy, I've dropped iZotope's Trash 2 distortion plugin onto it, because iZotope's Trash 2 on any synth line makes that synth line 10 times better. So that's what I've done. So, in fact, that preset on Trash 2 is actually called When Storms Argue. So I thought that was appropriate. And that final synth in the corner, well, it's not one of Native Instruments at all. It's Arturia's Jupiter 8 emulation, and it's dark strings. So if I unsolo that so you can hear what I'm actually playing rather than the Ethereal Earth. So just your average 1980s polysynth, nice string pad. And that's just at the end for a bit of special sauce at the end. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing for the last three days or so, which has kept me fairly busy, I have to say. I will be working on these obsessively for the next few days until Thursday, when I will release them. It is Christmas Eve on Thursday, isn't it? It's Friday that's Christmas Day. So that is what I'm doing this week. Then once I've got the album released, I will be obsessively rehearsing and practicing in here, because on Wednesday the 30th of December, Lockdown live streamers VEM 7.0 Xmas is taking place. And oh look, I'm on the bill. So kickoff is at 9 p.m. GMT Universal Coordinated Time. So that's 10 p.m. in France and Belgium. We've each got about a half-hour set. So Simon's on first, I think. John's on second, Martin's third. So I'm probably going to be on at about 11:30 UK time, 12:30 European time, if I've figured this out the right way round. It's either that or I'm on second, but I will check and let you know. I just know I'm going to be appearing, so I am now panicking as to what I'm going to do for a whole 30-minute set. It will be fun. I really enjoyed the last one, even if it was a little bit chaotic and I was profoundly under-rehearsed. I will not be profoundly under-rehearsed this time around. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we've got the whole showing off thing going on here. And oh dear, that exposure on shelf cam, this one here, hello shelf cam, that's doing strange things to me. M3. Ryaka Music says, why are you panicking? Because I want to be perfect, and I want to be better than anybody else on the bill, and I want to just really make viewers go, wow, that was great, because that's what I'd want as a member of the audience watching me. So I'm gonna drive myself pretty hard on this, I have to say. And when it's over, on the 31st of December, I will gently collapse into a heap and I'm going to chill out in January. I really am. I said I was going to do it this month and hasn't happened because I've been in here. There's nothing else to do really at the moment. We're in tier 3 here. We're still in tier 3 here. So the pubs are shut. You can get a takeaway. The shops are open, but you have to wear a mask, and most of the shops that I've been to have been limiting the number of customers allowed in at once to about 4. I went shopping in Chickpea Sodbury this week, and the high street was almost deserted. It was alarmingly quiet for the week before Christmas. And I've been writing letters and sending cards and just generally trying. And that's the other thing that I've really fallen short on. I set myself a reading target with Goodreads. You familiar with Goodreads? Goodreads is brilliant. It's like you tell Goodreads what books you've written. You tell Goodreads what books you've read, and Goodreads goes, "Ooh, you really like Kurt Vonnegut. You'd probably like this." And in most cases, I have. I've found some really, really great discoveries. But I set myself this year a target of reading 60 books by the end of the year. And what with one thing and another over the summer, I was 6 books ahead on schedule going into 5090. I'm now 5 books behind schedule, so my reading has really dropped off. But I've just finished a lovely little book, paperback book, that was published in the 70s called Close Encounters Diary by the wonderful actor Bob Balaban, who turns out to be a pretty darn good writer. Lots of really nice observations, and I was so jealous because the guy basically got to hang out with Francois Truffaut, the French film director, for about a year, and Balaban was one of very few people on set who could speak French. And the book is basically the story of how he and Truffaut bonded and got to know each other. And it's a lovely, lovely book. Oh, Riaka Music says, "You say the same thing to me, lol. You need time to rest." And the French Doggy says, "Both of you need rest." And indeed we do. So Riaka Music says, "I'm planning to take it easy around Christmas and the New Year, and I will be... the New Year, I'm basically just going to chill." I've got a number of box sets of movies that I bought donkeys years ago, like the Jean-Luc Godard box set that I bought. I think I've watched 2 of the films in it, and there are 14 films in it. I have still to watch, I think it's 3 of Andrei Tarkovsky's films, which I bought the Tarkovsky box set 3 years ago. Still haven't watched all of it. I've got the Alejandro Jodorowsky box set, he of Fando Elise and the Magic Mountain, is it? And Jodorowsky was the guy who got Giga and Chris Foss together, and I think Dan O'Bannon together, to make a version of Dune in the 1970s that never saw the light of day, and it would have been glorious. But he's a very, very, very unusual, shall we say, film director. So I'll be watching those. But for the moment, that's kind of it. Short show tonight. I'm not going to be waffling on for 2 hours tonight, and I think that's probably all to the good. We could all do with an early night or 2. So I will bid you good evening for the moment. I don't think I've got anything else. No, that's kind of pretty much everything in my notes, and that's quite useful as well, because with a smaller camera angle, you can't see when I actually consult my notes, which is, Ryako Music says, he's eccentric AF. That is probably one of the greatest understatements of the year so far, I think. Having read the biography of Jodorowsky, yeah, definitely an understatement. So, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for being here on a rather wet and not particularly great Sunday night. Completely forgot to go out and have a look at the conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn tonight. And tonight was the night when they're at their absolute closest, I believe. And the weather forecast here for tomorrow is pouring rain, so I think I've probably missed it. But hey ho, you win some, you lose some. I hope you win all yours this week. I will be back on Thursday, on Christmas Eve, with another Christmas jumper that's even sillier than this one. And I will be releasing, Decembering, this month's free pay what you want release on headfirstonly.bandcamp.co.uk. No, bandcamp.com, isn't it? Not .co.uk. And I will also be here on a week today with another Is It FAWM Yet show, hopefully with a bit more techie stuff, few more free plugins, who knows. I may even have another free DAW for you to marvel at. I've got to play with it first, but yes, I have another free DAW on the horizon for those of you just starting out who don't want to drop hundreds of quid on the DAW that I use, DAW that Mel uses, which is Ableton Live. It's kind of a fairly steep learning curve, so finding a free DAW and playing with that for a bit is recommended. Teaches you to learn the ropes without the sunk cost fallacy kicking in. Let's just put it like that. The French Doggy says, looking forward to that free DAW. Indeed, it's looking promising so far, but all will be revealed next Sunday. Till then, wherever you are, wear a damn mask. One of my friends works in retail, and he works in retail near here. And he was serving somebody today, and they ask people for their postcode as a result of it's sort of mild contact tracing. And this guy didn't want to give his postcode. And eventually he was browbeaten into revealing that his postcode was Southwest 1. So the guy had basically legged it out of London yesterday after Tier 4 was announced for London, and quite happily admitted eventually to my mate that they'd escaped London. What is the point? My friend was incandescent, and yeah, I think his call for imposing martial law might be a little bit more heavy-handed than Boris is prepared to be at the moment, but I think he could well be right, because people are quite obviously idiots. But you aren't idiots, are you? So I hope that you will all stay well this week. If you're out doing Christmas shopping, do it responsibly. If you're not, then I hope you're able to just chill the F out and have a good time. Stay well, stay sane. I know it's difficult. It's difficult for all of us, but what can you do? It's this crazy, crazy, crazy year. And let's just hope that 2021 shows a bit of the light at the end of the tunnel. And let's hope it's not an oncoming train. So, I'll see you on Thursday. Till then, take care, stay well, stay safe, stay sane. And this is HFO trying very hard to look cool while he's trying to find the right end credits button to click, but he's found it. So cheers.